up, Mr. Anson?
What's going on, man?
Hey, King. Hey, man.
Good.
Facebook jail yet or what?
No, I'm still in Facebook jail. I won't get out to the 8th.
On to the eighth, man. Well, welcome and thank you for joining us here at the What the Frap Book Club. You
Show
know,
you right.
a
Right.
subsidiary of Frapping Books or something like that.
I'm trying to get it on Instagram. There we go.
No, take your time. Take your
There we
time.
go.
So,
All right.
what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna discuss. Right? We're gonna.
Mhm.
I lost my shoot of thought. I had a whole line, man. I swear, I did.
See, did you write it down?
Smooth. I should have wrote it down. I don't wrote so much stuff, man. My brain is turning to mush.
Man, I feel you there.
Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna review it. We're gonna discuss it, and hopefully you all have read. People who are part of the book club. If you're not part of the book club, go on right on around the corner over there on Facebook and join. It's Frapping Books. You can find it right there at What the Frap page. So how you doing, man?
Man, I'm
Looking
good, bro. I tried, but I'm good, man. I've been chilling today. Today's my day off, so went out, washed the car, went to Walmart, got the dog some food, took a nap. So now I'm gonna go back home, drink some wine, and go back to sleep.
Hey, amen to that, man. You
Yep.
got the whole day figured out.
Oh yeah, this is the only day I got to figure the plan. So
Right.
yeah. What about you? What y'all got going?
Oh man, too much to even tell.
I feel you there.
We push some museum stuff till tomorrow, and then the house is the house, right? It's the first full week that the girls are back in school and the boys in daycare, and I may be looking at a job change here soon.
Oh, okay, that'll be nice. You trying to work remotely from home?
No, I'm trying to. Well, I'll do kind of that now, but I'm trying to move on into the regular working crowd.
Oh yeah. The rest
a
of the
bit
life.
more money.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about doing some part time for like online, so I can go across seas and live over there.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. We're gonna keep talking about that plan. Now, before we get started, with the book club discussion, of course, please subscribe for those of you who are watching
share,
on YouTube.
Comment, subscribe, show us some love.
Absolutely. Follow and like and share on Facebook as well.
Yes.
And if you want to join in the conversation, got something to say, maybe me and Anson made a mistake, which I don't see Anson making a mistake.
Man, I make them all the time. That's how I got here. I think I was a mistake when I was conceived. The whole gig.
Mistakes, which we are gonna get into that right now. So as I was saying, Frappin', hit that link right there. You can call in, you can join in the discussion, and we'd love to have you.
Ooh, I like callers.
We're just gonna keep on talking.
People can call in for real.
Yeah, man.
See, I still got the Frederick Douglass book. We got to get out of the way. I went and bought this book, but I left it at home. So,
that's all right.
So
we're all trying around here. Nothing wrong with that, Mr.
Show you right.
We'll give you a brief rundown. So the audience, if you're watching and trying to keep up here, we're gonna do a brief about, and forgive my background noise here. So we're gonna do a brief about the author, the actual parable from the Bible, the life inside the wall. You'll understand that in a minute. What forced our heroine, right, Lauren, outside of the wall, and then life outside of the wall. And then we're going to move on into the actual parable from the Bible being explained by none other than Jesus Christ himself.
Show you right.
Because I love how people, everyone has something to say, including us, right? But if we want to go to the source and, get a real understanding, you got to go, to the source.
You got to go to the book. The book.
And we're going to end it because, this has been so good for us, or for me personally. I'm sure you as well, that we're going to read the entire series of Earthsea. It's 2 books. This one, the parable of the sower, and then the parable of the talent. So so we got a special treat at the end of the show there.
Show you right.
Right. So I
actually enjoyed the book.
Awesome. Well, I'll do a brief about the author, and then Mr. King, give me the first go there. All right, about what you think about this. All right.
Okay.
So bear with me and my reading skills here, but Octavia E. Butler was a Black science fiction writer that won a Hugo and Nebula Award, as well as a MacArthur Genius Grant. She started writing after seeing a movie with an aunt. She claimed to, her aunt claims that, Oh no, sorry.
Mhm.
Octavia claims to her aunt at 9 years old that I could write something better than that,
Yeah.
and that's where the spark comes from. The aunt tells her that black girls can't be writers,
Uh-huh.
and so all she did, if keeping up with, if you guys are watching, each month, right,
Hmm.
keeping up with Frederick Douglass and Napoleon Hill and all
Hmm.
those authors,
Hmm.
right, who just don't tell them that what they can't do, because they're
Right.
gonna do the opposite.
Yep. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
she gets up in her youth at 2 a.m. every morning to do her writing before doing odds and end jobs like dishwasher, or even I think it was like a potato chip
Hmm.
inspector, all kinds of stuff, right? So she's able to finally allow herself to to support herself full time as an author. Of course, fast forward, she dies in 2006 at 58,
Man.
which makes, so I say that to give like a timeline of the novel, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So the times that we're living in now, you can see a lot of parallels, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it makes her novel seem even more eerie as she describes a lot of what's happening now, how bad things can get if we continue along this trajectory.
Yep.
Yep. And here's a quote from herself describing herself. She says she is a pessimist, if not careful, a feminist, a black, a former Baptist, an oil and water combination of ambition, laziness, insecurity, certainty, and drive.
Well, that sounds like me.
I'm about to say that's us. So go ahead, give us
Right.
your thoughts on the author that whose works we're reading.
Honestly, I did not know that she passed away. You said 2006? What
Oh
year?
six.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know she passed away in 2006. Being I just read the book, I was like, this opened my eyes to a whole new different style of writing, I guess you would say. But how she wrote this particular book, that was, uh, I was thinking, if you read it, it's almost like you're reading something from the 1930s in the middle or right at the beginning of the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as she's speaking of it as actually something in the future, I'm like, wow, she was really, on really on a path, on trajectory to some stuff that was actually happening now. And how she explained a lot of the stuff in the book, just the kind of scene or the setup. Again, it was like the 30s, but it almost took me back to some of the things that I've seen and witnessed when I was in Africa.
Okay.
How they was all living in the wall. It was almost like a village like kind of thing. How they all worked together and needed each other, and everybody worked together. And in some countries in Africa, some of the villages, they actually have that. They have the chief who lives, over here, and kind of like her dad was the pastor, kind of the one to kind of get everybody together. Because even while they was living in the wall, they was able to kind of have a functioning society. It can go to church. They know who has the food. They know who can do this, who can do that. Everyone shoots. Um, I do like that part, how she kind of told how we all need to have our, take care of that Second Amendment.
Hey,
That's
hey.
my style anyway, so I'm all with it. I'm with it.
All right. So let's move right on into it, man.
Please.
Yeah, I feel like we're giving people enough time to join if they wanted to. As
Hmm.
my children try to join me live here.
Right.
Get out of here, boy. Sorry about that. So
No,
the
you good.
actual parable. We'll start with the actual parable from sorry, the
Hmm.
actual parable from the Bible. Let's see here. Lord, I'm gonna have to read this whole thing. Ugh. Kids, practice reading now. I'll assure you.
Man.
So this is coming from Matthew 13,
Hmm.
verses 3 through 9. I'm reading from the New King James Version. Then he, speaking of Jesus, he spoke many things in them in parables, saying, "Behold, a sower
Hmm.
went out to sow, and and as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. Some fell on stony places where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up because they had no depth of earth. But when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop. Some a hundredfold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear."
Amen.
All right. So that's where it starts. And that kind of brings us right on into the beginning of the book.
Hmm.
Right. So now we're doing life inside the wall, the walls of Robledo, which is a place there in California. It takes place. So this was written in the late 80s,
Mm-hmm.
released in 1993. I'm pretty sure I wrote that
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. But it's about the dystopian future, right?
Yes.
Way off in the future, distant future of
2000.
2024 is where we start. Where she's, we meet our heroine Lauren,
Mm-hmm.
who's 15. Take it from there, Mr. Anson.
Yeah, she was 15 years old. Again, it seemed like something that was, based in the 30s. Didn't her mother die? Her mother had passed away, but she had siblings. Her father was a pastor, but she
Baptist.
wasn't. Yeah, a Baptist was
He
Lauren's
was a
Baptist.
he was a Baptist, so he's a professor at a local at a
Yes, 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 yes.
college, and he was a
Yeah,
pastor, a preacher,
and then her
Baptist
stepmother was
preacher.
a teacher as well. Correct.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, but he got that job at the college so she could stay at home with the kids, but she
mhm.
still utilized her teaching skills within the community.
Right, which honestly is what we need to do. Outside of necessarily school choice, if we had enough black teachers to say, "All right, we're gonna get together for 3 hours on a Saturday, bring all your kids, and we're gonna teach," that's how the community take care of the community, because you can't depend on the government to take care of you, because the government did not take care of them in the book.
Right. Yeah,
But
we'll
they
get
were still
into
shoot.
deep.
They were
You
they were
would have
still
to
voting
you would have
though.
to define a bunch of terms there, right? What do you mean by take care of? Like, are we
Uh,
just talking about money? We talking about education?
Oh man, from education, because a lot of the people who was in the book couldn't read or write. To be able to read and write was a privilege. They still had slaves or people who were free slaves in a sense, and they were slaves to corporations more so than slaves to actual masters or plantation owners or something to that nature. In the book, um, and when I say I remember a lot about Africa when she was talking about it, because in the country Malawi, Queen Elizabeth had took over. The Queen had took over a lot of the places in Malawi, provided them housing, provided them jobs, and cut all the trees down. Well, after the Queen was done with what she had to do in business, she said, "Okay, y'all got to get off my land, or y'all got to get off my land or pay me rent." But
Right.
she was the one providing for all them. So you taking away their income, and then you taking away their life. They live in conditions, and expecting them to make it from there. So when I say the government run really taking care of them, it was more so of who can we get to be slaves, in a sense of we'll take care of you, we'll give you a place to stay, we'll give you a place to
Mhm.
work, as long as you do this. And as people was getting round up, and families was going back and forth. What was that name of that camp they were going to? I
Well,
forget the name.
look, you are
Yeah,
way
yeah, I go,
ahead.
man, I be going,
So
bro.
let's paint the picture first.
Okay,
Let's
go
paint the
ahead.
picture first of life inside the wall.
Yes.
So we come into the story. We don't know what happened, but all we know is that resources are finite, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's not enough
Oh,
fresh
and the
water.
water shortage.
Right. There's not enough water to go around. It's not enough food, jobs, like nothing, right? And what
Mm-mm.
it's created is that some communities got together, just like what you're talking about there, decided we're going to watch out for each other, and we're going to
Mm-hmm.
build a wall around our community. Doesn't sound familiar, right?
Right, right.
Build a wall around our community, and hey, we're going to take care of each other,
Mm-hmm,
right? They're
mm-hmm.
not all related, but they all, are from that community. A lot of the elderly remember times past,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So they, they're not related, but they help each other out, and they hope that the older are just constantly hoping that things will return to the glory days.
yeah, yeah.
But that's our heroine, keeps saying over and over, in a sense, is that you know all things change. Like,
Mm-hmm,
if
mm-hmm.
you're about the business of hoping for the good old days,
That's
you're
gone.
going about the wrong way.
You know how we say the '90s were the good
Right.
old
Like, oh, I
days.
wish we would go back to the 90s. Like, no, it's
And
never going to happen.
no,
Why
never
are
gonna
we
happen
wasting
again.
the time and energy being
Uh huh.
stuck there?
Uh
Right.
huh. Uh huh.
And so what they do is they build this wall. They have a bunch of rules and watches and all sorts of things. It's the story starts off with her having a reoccurring dream about her, in the sense, it's just talking about how she, was teaching herself.
Yeah.
Tell you a little bit about her. She's 15 at the time. I love how she says in the book, hey, 3 years ago, I gave up my father's religion. Like, dang it, 12?
Right.
Like, she is way beyond her years, right?
You're
3 years
right.
ago, I just gave it up.
Yep.
And she cites her reasons and all that sort of thing.
She was just there.
She's an empath, what she calls,
Mhm.
and they call it the sharing,
Sharing.
which is
Yes.
Very interesting concept, right? You
Uh
want to go
huh.
a little bit about what an empath is?
In this what they call the woke generation, it was a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm an empath," and no, don't you really don't want to say you're an empath all the time because
No.
you open up yourself to a whole bunch of pain and hurt. In the book, Lauren was an actual empath who, when someone else got hurt physically, she could feel the pain, even to the point to where if they was bleeding, she would bleed too. If they fell unconscious, she fell unconscious. And honestly, I want to say that's almost like DNA memory. I think I told you about that. Your memory your DNA has a memory. And for example, if a slave will watch other slaves get beat, they can kind of feel that ooh, or they get a
Right.
slap on the back. They kind of flinch too. Although it's not them getting hit, they still
Right.
flinch. So
What's the idea of seeing someone get kicked in the nuts on TV and
yeah,
us
you
dudes
feel it
going,
too. Like,
"Ooh,
oh, yeah,
man, god,
exactly,
oh."
exactly,
Right.
exactly. You say I hurt for him, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
So the
but
idea of the current liberal
uh-huh.
right version of empath is like, oh, I feel bad because you feel bad. No, this is an actual disorder. I got the
Hmm.
link up right there.
Yeah.
If you want to read more about it, it's very
Yes.
interesting to read.
Right on. Can people
But
click that link? How does that work?
yeah, you should be able to
Copy and paste if you can't do nothing else.
copy and paste if you can. So, like you talked about before,
Hmm.
like there's a part in the story where her brother knows. I mean, her family,
Hmm.
her core family knows about this,
Hmm.
and her brother, because he's a deviant, as you'll see
Yeah, yeah.
later on, right? Um, tricks her right by having, I don't know if it's ketchup, whatever it is,
I
something
think it was
red,
ketchup. Hmm.
yeah, to
Yep.
make her, and he was crying out, pretending like
Yeah.
he was hurt and
Yeah.
bleeding, and she
See.
literally bled through her own skin,
Yep.
as you mentioned before. Hey, we got our first official caller in,
Oh,
right?
nice.
The beautiful Mrs. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Uh-oh, can she hear me? Was this on purpose?
Hello.
Well, that went well. And if you can hear us,
Come
no, we
back. Come
can't.
back.
We couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear you. Let's try it again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
There you go. Hello, welcome to the show.
I'm just here to read the earth seed stuff for you, sir.
Oh, cool,
Ah,
cool,
setting up.
cool.
So we're
Nice.
still talking inside the kind of setup inside the walls.
Hmm.
And here's Earthseed. Do we even
No, we didn't read
will
those.
this describe what Earthseed is, wife?
So this just going through her different verses.
Hmm.
Okay.
So from chapter 1, how she starts off her first verse for earth seed is all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only
Hmm.
truth is change. God is change. Earth seed, the book of the living.
Wow.
Nice.
That's crazy, right?
You
So
almost sound like
she
the narrator there too. I was like, "Hey, is that lady?"
live in the studio.
Right on.
Just send me a message when you're ready for the next one, there, wife. Appreciate
Okay.
it. She's like, okay.
I like how she says that God is change in the book, and I would almost I agree with that, but I would even say God is consistent because change is consistent. You can always count on change to be there. Therefore, it is consistent. Ain't that crazy how that kind of works?
But that's the interesting. So here's the debate that I had.
Uh huh.
Right,
Uh huh.
I was against that. Right,
Really?
because my ideal is that of God, especially reading scriptures like he's the rock, his hand is unchanging,
Yeah,
is that
unchanging
he's the
hand.
one constant
Hmm.
amidst all this change.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Right, so that was my only. That was one. I had like one or two beasts with her earth seed,
Uh
but we
huh.
probably should explain what earth seed is.
Hmm.
So she has left her father's religion. He's a Baptist minister. She forsakes that at 12. At 15, she goes through this, the baptism and everything just to please him, but she has no interest in it whatsoever.
Children
In
still do
doing
that.
so, she started writing her own thoughts towards God, and she creates in the process her own religion, which she
Hmm.
calls Earth Seed, and her Bible is Earth Seed, the Book of the Living,
That's
which are
it.
these two parable of the sower and of the talents that we'll
Tell us.
be reading here.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So yeah, I don't agree with that at all. You know,
I do. I like the whole concept of God has changed. I really do, because it has to. Evolution has to occur in a sense. You can get to
right?
some people, and you can say Adam and Eve, and then you have someone else to say Atom, Atom, and Eve is evolution.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? So
hmm
it's no matter how you look at it, God is change, but God is also consistent change, because you can always count on it to be there. Times don't always be
hmm
great, so it's going to change. You got to take the sun with the rain. you
But does
know
God change, or do things change like within God's will?
so when you say does God change, you're always saying that God changes mind. Does he have a conceding mind,
Okay, so he
or
changes things, but he himself
stays the
is
same?
infinite. He's the same. He's the
Stays the
rock. He's
same.
all that, right?
Sometimes you have to change your surroundings in order to get something different out of you.
Right,
You can go live by the ocean and you can be more inspired, or you can go live in a desert and be more inspired.
right. But one of the
Some.
things she talks about is how God, like we shape God and God shapes us,
Hmm.
and I think
Hmm.
that's true on our level, like
Hmm.
as a human,
Hmm.
as humans, right?
Right.
Like we shape to us what God is, and
Always.
then therefore the things we shape us, right? But I don't
Perspective.
think like God on the like ultimate level, I think he's the same,
Yeah.
right? Even if he has to us seem like he's changing his mind or whatever,
Uh-huh.
like the Israelites or freed and they're like, hey, we want a king. He's like, nah, you don't need one. You got me. They was like, but we really want one. He's like, all right, fine,
Here you go, you
you
king.
know, but it's still all gonna work to his purpose, right?
Exactly.
All
Consistent
right.
change.
So she's got this own religion. Now we should mention a couple of things before we move on.
Yeah.
Um, there's a drug that's going around, right? First of all, one
The
person in the
row.
entire right, the rope. Look, I like that. So
The
one
row.
person in the entire community has a TV,
Hmm.
and they watch the news and everything. And they're talking about how there's this drug out that it makes you trip something crazy. You shave your head, you paint your face blue, and it's something about fire that really turns you on. They say watching the fire on pyro or the roo
Hmm.
is better than sex,
Six. Yep.
right?
And even then, when she said how the news would talk about it, it's almost like the news would promote it. And you got to watch how a lot of that propaganda kind of comes into your life. But hip to the game that props your way.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh, the other wife is okay, hold on. I'll bring you back, wife. Unmute yourself. She's got the next passage here, it looks like.
Yes.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I wasn't ready.
She wasn't ready. Yeah, so I've already got her comment up, and we'll let her read it because she's a way better reader than I am.
No, that's
Right.
my comment. That's not hers.
Mm. Good as a facilitator of
Oh,
change, or permissive of change.
oh
Sorry, that
God.
was not autocorrect. It was supposed to be God.
God, yeah, yeah. I figured.
Look,
I
even the
figured.
phone's trying to change it, right? We trying to say something about God, and the phone's like, nah, like, you mean good?
Uh
Right.
huh. Uh huh.
So God is the facilitator of change or permissive of change. There you go. But he himself isn't changed, right? She's very explicit about God being changed.
Hmm.
So that was what was one beef I had.
I really like that part. I think that was a great insight. How she said God has changed. I was like, that is so true.
Right. See, we calling the loot. You ready
Mhm.
there, wife, with the next passage?
Yeah. We do not worship God. We perceive and attend God. We learn from God.
Mhm.
See, so and thank you, wife. And I don't know, you wave at me in the back room. I'm not sure. See if you can like just comment privately when you're ready for the next passage. And I thank you. So we don't perceive. So what does that say to you?
Our perception of God.
Right. One more time, there, wife. Sorry, I keep throwing you back in and out.
Mhm.
She's gonna kill me later, Anson.
That's all right.
I
You
might
got
have to
life
move out there
insurance.
with you, man.
You got
No
life
Okay.
insurance.
insurance. Yeah,
Good. Good.
of course.
Can you hear
Good.
me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we do not worship God. We perceive and attend God. We learn from God. With forethought and work, we shape God. In the end, we yield to God. We adapt and endure, for we are earth seed, and God is change. Earth seed, the book of the living.
Phew, thank you, wife.
So she said that they don't worship God,
Mm.
and but they learn, live, and let God kind of work with them and around them.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I like it.
It's like
I do, because I gotta say, we gonna have plenty of time to worship God when when it's all over. Go put on your robe and tell the story. But right now we are here for a service. Whatever it is, as long as you living how you need to live and letting God work with you and work through you the way you need to, it's gonna take care of itself. And then when you get up there to glory and He says, "Well done," then you can worship all you need to. Right now, you are just another soldier of the army doing the Lord's work. That's how we should be living. Like when you wake up and you pray, or you go to bed and you pray, and you worship, and we go to church and we throw our hands in the air and we shout and all these things, which is good and right in its own self. But when it comes down to the work of it, I mean, we can't be praise the Lord, hallelujah all the time. We got to get to the nitty gritty work.
So the wife is saying, "Oh Lord, a convert. You have already joined Lauren's new religion."
In the book, I was Travis. I really
oh.
believe I was Travis in the book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've heard this thing from Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, right,
Mm-hmm.
where he talks about when people ask him if he believes in God, right,
Mm-hmm.
and he says there's a weird thing. He says, "I believe in God, so therefore I act it out. I act out my belief in God." This
Mm-hmm.
God's pretty explicit about, like, if you love
Mm-hmm.
me, you'll obey my commandments. Then
Right.
Jesus breaks it down with, "Hey man, do these two things: love God, love thy neighbor and thyself," which includes all of humanity.
Right.
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 So he's pretty explicit on how to go about loving Him. Right.
Right.
You love me, obey my commandments. It sounds like the ultimate father. Right.
Right.
Right. And as the wife chimes in with, but she doesn't believe in God in that. Did I say it wrong?
Mm-mm. So when she says she doesn't believe in God, is because a lot of people don't believe in God as being, a big guy with a beard up in the sky. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Honestly, I think God is just a consciousness that lives in all of us. And what we would say woke is the idea of being able to see things and perceive things, or perception. Perception is very, very, very strong, because God views things through us. And they say God sees all, know all. Well, if He sees all, know all, He sees it and know it through you, because you are the seed.
So like as we look at this issue with New Orleans, right, Louisiana, getting ready for this hurricane, it reminds me of when Katrina was about to hit, and how people were saying, "Oh, God's going to punish them for being a wicked city." And my thought, like, it's always been, that's always bothered me, because for me, God doesn't operate like that. He says it's going to rain on the just as well as
He literally rain.
Right. So like, there are
something.
good people there and there are bad people there. That's not how I roll.
Yeah.
But I think if you look more into that story about how the corrupt politicians rely on their own pockets instead of allocating those funds to, the upkeep of the levees and education about what to do during hurricane season and all that sort of thing, that became, going against God's word, and you getting punished by God. But in what we do in actuality, right? So because I'm corrupt, I'm a politician, I'm lining my own pockets, not doing what I'm supposed to do, it caused the city to suffer.
Ain't that crazy?
And because the city suffered, now I don't even have the cash flow like I had before.
Yep, there it is.
I stepped on my own toes.
Yep. Yep. We could have protected your people within the wall.
Absolutely. So again,
Right.
a couple of things about inside the wall. So they're watching this program about the pyro drug, right? She's upset about. So also, oh man, let me just quickly run through this because I want to be mindful of your time. So she's against her father for the lack of preparation. He's worried about her scaring them. Suggests that she teaches them instead. Her brother, her half brother, Keith, right? He decides to leave, come back, and gets beat by the father. He leaves again, supposedly for good, but he comes back well dressed, having money. He gives out money and stuff, and then the next thing you know, he's dead. So they're identifying his body that's been tortured in a very hideous way. Right?
But they want to leave his face intact, so they know who he is. Yeah.
And so the pastor's wife is upset. They're
Mm-hmm.
looking on the TVs as well about this company KSF,
Yeah.
who promotes, room and board in exchange for labor, which is a weird modern slavery thing. I got a couple of links on that, Mr.
Well,
King.
you know that's happening here soon. So in Nashville, Amazon bought out some apartment complexes.
Wow.
And so people say, "Oh, that's cool. We can work for Amazon. We live in an apartment complex. This is a great life." That's a different form of slavery, just a higher form of slavery, But we'll see what
Right.
happens.
So this link right here is a link to some modern slavery things that goes
Mm-hmm.
on right today.
Today.
Right. The idea of, especially abroad, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We are fortunate enough to have the Constitution, all these laws and red tapes as far as not allowing modern day slavery to run rampant.
Right.
Not saying it doesn't exist, but to go as crazy it is overseas.
Mm-hmm.
But
The
overseas,
13th
you can
Amendment.
come into a country, you can get a job, but how they pay you is in script, what they call it, which it only works for things on company grounds.
Mm-hmm.
So at first it seems great, like, okay, I get here, I work hard, I get my company script that's not useful outside of their grounds, right?
Right.
But
Right.
they're able to buy what they need and get a little spot to live and all that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. But because of the weird pricing there, right,
Mm-hmm.
it has them drive them into debt. And
Mm-hmm.
now you can't leave until the debt is
It's
cleared.
paid off, and then
The
if
longer
someone
you're
dies,
there, right, the longer you're there and the more you work, the more in debt you are.
yep,
So it's
ain't that crazy?
right. And so, but what's known, across the pond there, in a lot of these countries, they actually hold your passport until your
Mm-hmm.
debt is paid. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't even leave the country.
This is very true. Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
they don't call it slavery, but it's definitely slavery.
It's definitely what it is. This is definitely what it is. It's some places in South Africa and in many other countries, of course, but I only say that because that's why I frequently visited, where they only get paid once a month, and then after they get paid, they're either fired, or they get replaced by someone else who's going to work harder for less pay, and the job is not consistent. The job is, one of those, you get a 2-week notice or you get probation. None of that. When they done with you, they done with you, and they gonna hire somebody else to do everything you was doing for cheaper, and they just keep rotating it and rotating it and rotating it. So you end up becoming in debt, and that's when mental illness really starts kicking in, because now, you're trying to get your life together with nothing.
Right. So there's the second link showing. So I always try to throw some links at you, so you, the audience, can research this yourself. You can, hopefully you read the book. If not, pick it up, read it. We will be reading the second one for next month.
I'm good.
But
I really like the book.
Yeah. So within all this stuff going on, her father, who goes to the college and sometimes he stays there to work, comes up missing. They go outside the wall where you see beheadings and prostitutes and just nudity.
Kids dead. Oh my goodness,
Kids
man.
dead, and so dogs are no longer domesticated. They're just wild dogs now, and that's an issue.
Yeah.
But they go out in search, and I wish we had more time to go into depth, but
That's all right.
So they go out and search, and what they do is they find that they don't find his body. They find a severed limb. They kill this dog. They take a fingerprint, take it into the police. It doesn't match his, so he's just not found. So as time goes on, they just have a funeral for him, even though they weren't able to produce a body.
Mm-hmm.
But with all her concern, Lauren, right, all of Lauren's concern for her father and the community as a whole, what ends up happening is the pyro users. I feel like there's a name for them, but the bald head, blue faced, high off of their out of their mind. What they do is they set a fire, and then that's distracts the community to one specific area, of course, because they all rush to try to put the fire out, and then that's how they get into the gate, and it's just chaos, and that's what forces her outside of the wall.
It's crazy how you need to get chaos in order to make some moves. It's like life has to get crazy in order to bring out the best in you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When she couldn't, again, her being an empath, she couldn't really hurt anyone. But when it came down to it, she had to kill somebody. And
Right.
she hurt with them. And then the second,
Right. I love how she says she shares the pain.
She shares
There's
the
a
pain.
point where she has to, shoot somebody to save her friend's life,
Mm-hmm.
and she blacks out
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
after the bullet hits the person.
Yeah.
Right, so she escapes the wall. There's some things that happen, but she comes across. First, she changes her appearance to make herself look
Mm-hmm.
like a man.
Mm-hmm.
She meets up with Zara Moss,
Yeah.
who herself was from the outside, but then
Mm-hmm.
was bought by somebody in the community. Not something they really talked about, but they let
Mm-hmm.
slide because they needed his resources.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he had the
Mm-hmm.
only meat. I think it was the rabbit meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Harry Balter, who's a white guy. Zara is, Spanish, and of course Lauren is black.
Yep.
So I say that because one of the biggest issues at the time is the specific targeting
Mm-hmm.
outside the wall of mixed
Mixed
couples.
couples. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that comes up later, of course.
Yeah.
So things outside the wall are pretty bad, right? But these people at these, the work camps,
Uh-huh.
right? They have trucks, the only working vehicles really, these big
Mm-hmm.
trucks. They have semi-automatic weaponry, but they're also thieves,
Mm-hmm.
right? They
Mm-hmm.
got to worry about water stations, these little spots and pockets, and all that.
And you can
So,
go to jail for getting water. You can't even sell water, and that's one of the necessary commodities that we need. One of the things. But however, the government doesn't see fit for you to have clean, running, workable water.
so we're gonna bring the wife back to go ahead and read another passage.
Embrace diversity. Unite or be divided. Robbed, ruled, killed. But those who see you as prey, embrace diversity or be destroyed. Earthseed, the Book of the Living.
Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
wife. Man, she's reading the crap out of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like
Yeah.
it.
So that gets into what we talked about before, right? Because she has plans to leave on her own. Then the guy she's seeing inside the walls, they make plans, and then this
Mm-hmm.
huge thing happens, and her family gets killed. They're
Mm-hmm.
not sure of everybody's whereabouts, whether they're dead or alive, where
Yeah.
they fled to, all the things that she feared and was preparing for.
Right. And one thing I really liked about the book, as her being a writer, how she kind of leave you cliffhangers everywhere, and she never
Mm-hmm.
feels that void. And for some people they need closure, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes that right there is what draws you in more when you
Right.
don't have that closure. And for when the house had burned down and her stepmother run out, hopefully with the kids. She didn't know where her brothers were. She didn't know what was going on. Did they have the money? Did they have the gun?
Right.
And then I'm sitting there like, where are the kids? Where's her dad? I'm sitting there trying to figure it out. And I'm like reading, where they at? Where they at? And you just never get that answer. But that's real life, because she was just writing a diary. This is what happened. I don't know nothing else. I wonder will they ever talk about that in the next book too.
We'll have to find out.
That is-
So she's outside
Mhm.
with her the people she grew up with that she's known all her life. This is Zara Moss, we'll just call her Zara from now on,
Mhm.
and Harry Balter, which we'll just call him Harry.
Mhm.
So Harry and Zara, they go on their way. They're being very cautious. They're seeing a lot of crazy things. Now remember, Lauren, I'm talking to the audience now.
Mhm.
Lauren is an empath, so she has to be careful at what she watches,
Mhm.
but she also has to be, cautious of not watching. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm saying it all
Mhm.
mixed up.
No, I
She has
understand
to
what you
pay
mean.
attention to every single detail to survive outside the walls. But her
Right.
paying attention literally causes her pain. Right. So it's a weird thing that she has to do. Like, she really is balancing her own pain and being vigilant.
Mhm.
So they, are going through. So we meet, excuse me, Travis and Natividad,
Mhm.
the son. Those are the parents of Dominic, who's an
Mhm.
infant. So they save them at the water station, or help them at the water station from a thief.
Mhm.
They help their baby from dogs, and that's what kind of allows them to kind of trust
Right.
them, and they
Mhm.
join the party. And then we meet the old man, old smooth,
Yeah. Yeah.
Bencoli,
Being
right?
Coley.
Bencoli, yeah.
Mhm.
He's 57. He notices first he knows that Lauren's not a woman,
Right.
but he likes how the group is, helping the baby, and eventually he joins them,
Right.
right? Then they meet two sisters, Allie, who's 24, and
Mhm.
Jill Gilchrist. Now they're white, so
Mhm.
they were in need, right? They were pinned down by some rubble,
Right.
But they have this weird. I mean, of course, they're victims of being pimped out by their father,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he turned them into prostitutes to make money. So one time, I guess Allie has a baby. The father flings the baby, against the wall,
Mm-hmm.
killing the baby,
Killed
and
it.
that's when they
Mm-hmm.
decide to wait till he was good, knocked out, drunk,
And
and
get him.
burn the house
Burn the
down
house
with
down.
him in it.
Burn that mother down.
Right.
Burn it up.
Excuse look, all this. You gotta excuse us. I'm just giving the brief synopsis so we can get to Mr. King's analysis there.
Oh, yeah.
So they meet. So they join. So you gotta understand with this big gap of or mistrust between the races,
Mm-hmm.
that even though they needed their help and they were helped by this group with Mexican, white, and black together,
Right.
they still had trouble trusting them. Right. Those are the times of 2024. Right.
Ain't that something, man?
Yeah. So and then they finally get trusted, and it has a lot to do with the child within the group,
Yeah.
because Jill is thinking about, or sorry, Allie is thinking about her baby
Mm-hmm.
that she
Mm-hmm.
lost. So that was the connecting
Right.
tissue. Then they move on and they get to another city, and they meet Emery and Tori,
Mm-hmm.
and they who escape a company like the KSF company. So
Yeah.
um, it may not be KSF. Maybe we'll find that out in the second book. But what ends up happening there is they go on to meet Grayson and Domora.
Mm-hmm.
So Emery is a lady with her daughter Tori, and Grayson is a single father with his daughter Domora.
Yeah.
Right, and so what's interesting about that? It gets revealed that those four people, Emery, Tori, Doe, and Grayson, are all empaths because they make really
They
good
feel it.
slaves.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Right, you want to break that down?
So when you
Oh,
say
sorry.
break,
Hold on, Nancy.
go
I
ahead.
think we got the passage here.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do
Oh,
that.
hold on, wife. Do we have the passage?
No.
Well, explain this comment. Not a man. Which part did I mess up?
Oh, you said that that Bancoli realized that she wasn't a woman, but he realized she wasn't a man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right,
Because he was
because she's in
dressed as
disguise
a
as a man. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, girl, you ain't no dude. What's up? Right. So he kind of shadows them for a while, and then seeing how they treat each other, decides to help him out, and then they join.
Right.
Wait,
And he's very wise too. So he brought a lot of wisdom to the group.
absolutely. Wait, wife, do you have the next passage?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh.
There you go.
Okay. So once or twice each week, a gathering of earth seed is good and necessary thing. It vents emotion, then quiets the mind. It focuses attention, strengthens purpose, and unifies people. Earthseed, the Book of the Living.
Thank you, wife. I like that brief cameo.
Right. That's definitely I say a page she took out of the church, book, to come together. Fellowship is very important, is of course it strengthens you more than anything. Of course, if you go to church, everyone has their own problems, but it's always good to see someone with, at the church. So, hey, how you doing? It kind of just bring you back together. That little fellowship does help. I like how she going on, down the line, way down the line, how, they ask her, do you plan on having your own church? And she's like, yeah. And it's almost like what she was running away from when she was 12, 15 years old. She ends up embracing in a sense, because although she don't believe in God in that sense, God has changed. So he just so happened to change into, Earthseed, and God's still going to work his way through Earthseed.
But here's my thing. Don't this just seem like she's a regular kid, right? At this point, she's 18. And she
But mature,
plagiarizes
very
a lot of
mature.
them. Very mature for her age, no doubt. But still showing flashes of like what we know now, that the human body doesn't finish developing until around 24. The brain, at least.
Yeah.
But her like kind of plagiarizing all, like doing what we all, maybe not we, but a lot of people do, which takes bits and pieces from the Bible that you like and adopt it. Right. And now, well, I've got this new thing. It's like it's all plagiarized and misused for the most part.
Well, and honestly, I say we all do it, but they all do it, because you can leave the church, but the church still kind of be, how they say you can take the girl out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the girl. It's the same thing when it comes to the Christian religion, but when it comes to the Bible and the understanding of how God works. Those little seeds that's in there, with or without it. Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Whether you believe in God or not, that always makes sense. No
Makes
matter
sense.
what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even then, for her to you say plagiarize it. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense because, you can't get no better than some of those straight facts to the point. You can't, ain't no way to beat around it. Ain't no need to reinvent the wheel. Use what's right there.
Right. Which
Mhm.
wife? We should have one more verse while Anson is breaking down why empaths make such good, workers
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
camps like the KSF camp, where you come in, you spend money that's only good at the on those grounds.
Mhm.
But while that's happening, a verse as well as the Matthew 13,
Mhm.
18 through 23.
Mhm.
If you'll take that for us too, either one of you, really.
I don't have a Bible with me.
No, 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 it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
But as far as the empath, that goes with what I was saying earlier, how a lot of us now would say, "Oh, I'm an empath," and how uh, empath work. That's actually a weakness because now we know that you can see somebody else get hurt and you're gonna take on that pain. You ain't gonna try to run from nothing. You ain't gonna try to change nothing. You are more so mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stuck because of a gift that you have. Um, how some people would be considered, whether it be mental retardation or what they say slow, but they're actually gifted, smart kids or gifted, smart people in general. Uh, and however they may be having a weakness. And some people take advantage of that. In this particular reason, companies take advantage of people who, you know, are actually here to help other people and heal. If you really want to get deep into empathy or empaths, look deep into crystal children or indigo children. That's way to the left,
Say
but
that again.
if you really want to know more about empath, uh, look or search crystal children or rainbow children, indigo children. These
Crystal,
are
like KRY, Crystal.
the crystal children, the rainbow children, and what was the other one? Crystal children, rainbow. You have to go back and see.
No, 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 it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll put that in the chat real quick.
But
Go
it's
ahead, wife. Are you ready with the next passage?
Yes. Create no images of God, except the images that God has provided. They are everywhere, in
Mhm.
everything. God is change. Seed to tree, tree to forest, rain to river, river to sea, grubs to bee, bees to swarm, from one many, from many one, forever uniting, growing, dissolving, forever changing. The
Mhm.
universe is God's self portrait.
So beautiful,
Oh
beautiful
man,
words,
I thought you was gonna
beautiful
finish
words.
Ismail. Earthseed, the book of the living.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean,
But hang on,
okay,
Anson. Yeah,
okay.
thank you, wife. Please, please, please. One last final read of Matthew 13, verses 18 through 23 when I cue you back up. All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I put in the chat there, crystal children and rainbow children. Google
Oh,
it.
and indigo. That was the other one. Indigo children.
Indigo children.
Indigo children.
Gotcha.
And what that is the spirits that come down or the souls or consciousness that comes down when kids are born or conceived, and how it's an elevation. I remember it was a post that someone said these quarantine babies ain't the same as the regular babies, and that's kind of it because there's an elevation of people. I mean, we are steady evolving, going back to the Adam and evolution. We are still evolving as a people or as a human race and as a consciousness. So when people are born, some of them have a little bit more gifts than others than the previous generations. And there are the crystal children, rainbow children, and indigo children. Some of us are
Absolutely.
here.
No,
Hmm.
no, no. That's fine. So, well, I failed to mention, and forgive
Hmm.
me, Anson, and the audience, um, how the acorn nut plays a huge, I guess, visually stimulating role.
Hmm.
Right? They have a tree. They're able to, take the acorns and grow more acorn trees. They're able to, grind it down and make acorn flour and
Hmm.
cookies and stuff. Or
Hmm.
and so eventually, so of course the empaths, they make good slaves because you hit one, they all feel it,
Right.
right? So it was, the less it was the best way to, if you're gonna run a plantation built on slavery, those are the best types of people, right?
Yep.
So it almost implies that they are breeding empaths
Yeah.
for this purpose.
For that
Because if
purpose, ain't that
I
something?
slap one, all of them
All of them
missed it
gonna
out,
feel it. All of them
with
gonna feel
one
it.
hit.
All of them know it.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they
yeah.
would make you watch it too. It's you like the Levi jeans when they got the horse pulling the jeans apart when it was actually supposed to be a black man. They pulling apart, and everybody's like, "Oh no!" But anyway,
Wow.
yeah.
So with that, they as we wrap up, the story a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
um the four empaths, and they all join, and she's talking to them about Earthsea, and some of them are with it. Ben Cole is one of the ones who pushes back on a lot of different ideas because he's not religious anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So they trust each other enough. So Ben Coley tells them, I have a sister who's staying on my property, and that's where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So it's ducked off, nobody can see it. They finally get there to see, the bones of, possibly, we don't know, it's not confirmed,
Right.
possibly the bones of his family. So they had to make a huge decision. Do we stay and try to rebuild, or do we keep going? Because this
Yeah.
proves,
This is.
this
They
fire
know.
proves that it's not 100% which nothing is.
Yeah. Yep.
So they have the debate, and they all decide to stay there, and they call the place Acorn, and that's where the book ends.
Mm-hmm. I love
Yeah.
how it ends too. How they do a funeral, and then they say everybody, and that's the thing. They all of them had lost so many family members. They never
Uh-huh.
had time to grieve. I mean, they had to constantly keep moving. There's a fire chasing them. Um, they going through the wilderness, and there's literally big blazes of fire. That's if they stop, they can get burnt up. In no time. So,
Right.
but even then, when your wife was saying about the last part of not the last part of the book, but in the book, how they say God is in everything, and that is the God honest truth. Like you can see the Fibonacci sequence, or just how things in life, or what they said, the tree of life, or the
Right.
flower of life. It's all here, regardless of what we need. God, if God want to get something to you, He gonna get it to you. Whether it be a bird, whether it be a snake, whether it be whatever
Right.
it is, you can be walking and it be a little red bird that just follows you the whole time you walk. That might be God trying to tell you, I'm watching you too. But God is
Absolutely.
everywhere. God is definitely everywhere.
Right. So before we get out of here, we're going to have the wife read, Jesus himself describing or breaking down the parable of the sower, for my wife there, and then we'll hear from the author herself. We have
Mhm.
3 clips. One talking about why she is a writer. A little clip on why science fiction,
Mhm.
and then she kind of promos why the Earthsea series should be read together. Right. So we'll start with the wife, move on to her, and then get on out of here.
So Matthew 13, verses 18 through 23. Therefore, hear the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, then the wicked one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is he who receives seed by the wayside. But he who received the seed on stony places, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet he has no root in himself, but endures only for a while. For when tribulation or persecution arises because of the word, immediately he stumbles. Now he who receives seed among the thorns is he who hears the word, and the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. But he who receives seed on the good ground is he who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and produces some 100-fold, some 60, some 30.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Wife. So yeah, man. Oh, hang on, Anson. Oops.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I said it's crazy how a lot of that is still it, because you can have, and I say this, and I think sometimes I strike nerves when I say it, but you can have a lot of pastors. I was just talking to my mom about it, who we grew up, no matter what the doctor say, God has the final say, uh,
Right.
God can heal what medicine can't, but now here we are in a time where, we're going to have to choose, can God really heal something, or will man heal it? Will medicine really take it? So a lot of us, or a lot of people have been in church for a long time, preaching and saying and reading the Bible, having the same conversations. But then when something comes up to kind of test you, that little faith thing got, found out it's really on the rock and not deep in the soil like it should be.
But see, here's my take on that.
Uh-huh.
Right, because if all this is under God's domain,
Mm-hmm.
right, nothing new under the sun,
Right.
and it says to read, study, show yourself approved, and it says
Right.
to be discerning and
Mm-hmm.
bear ye one another's burdens, all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Her whole earth seed came from the Bible, right?
Yep.
But she just put her spin on it and took the pieces that she liked,
Uh-huh.
just like we
Uh-huh.
all do.
That's like that.
The ideal of I feel like you're getting into some vaccine talk, and the ideal is we
Mm-hmm.
should be smart enough to make that decision for ourselves,
Facts.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Not
Mm-hmm.
just someone on either side of the
Right.
argument
Right.
telling
Right.
us, right?
Right.
And don't give me your, I did my research. Like none of us are withdrawing and looking under the microscope and seeing for ourselves. We're all listening to somebody,
That's
right?
it.
But the discerning part comes in, it comes later. We'll have to have a whole separate.
We
You have
should
to
have to
join us
have a
tonight.
whole. Yeah, we have to
I
have a
tell you
whole
what,
separate
join
thing
us
for that.
tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time.
Right on.
Call in with Chulo, Rich, and me.
I'll do
And
that. I'll
we
do
can
that.
have some further discussions on that.
Yeah,
But
I'm with
let's
that for
go ahead
sure.
and end it with the interview.
Yes.
Again, she's going to talk about why sci-fi, and it
Mhm.
is with. I want to apologize. Okay, this interview is with Charlie Rose, and I know he
Oh yeah.
it's canceled, but crap it. Here we go. Oh, sorry. So she's going to talk about why science fiction. She's going to talk about a little bit about why be an author and why we should read Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents together as
Mhm.
one work, which next month we will be reading the Parable of the Talent. Here
Sound
we
good to
go.
me.
Are you surprised that you became a writer? Oh, no. No, I think I had one choice. Well, two choices. I could become a writer, or I could die really young.
And that
Because there
good.
wasn't anything else that I wanted.
Why science fiction?
Because there are no closed doors, no walls. I mean, the only rule is if you use science, you should use it accurately. You can look at, examine, play with anything. Absolutely anything. Well, together they are the autobiography of a fictional character who creates a new religion and sets humanity's feet on a different path. Singly, I'm not sure that comes across.